Alright. Oh my god, look how look how red my face is from these patch notes. Let me fix that right now. There, there we go. Oh my god, I mean it's still a little bit red. But guys, we have Borderlands 4 patch notes. Some updates here. This is actually going to be my first video ever covering patch notes on Borderlands 4, and it feels really good. We actually have the twab later for Destiny 2 later as well, so I think we're getting 3 videos today on the channel. But let us jump straight into it because there's a few things here that I'm super interested in, and I'd like to go through it with you guys as well. So we have got Borderlands 4 update notes, October 2nd, 2025. That is today. This update includes some additional balance changes and updates for Vault Hunters. I'm actually going to zoom in here. Here we go, much better. Welcome to our first significant balance patch. Oh, I'm here saying it's my first time, and this is their first balance patch. So I guess we're on schedule, as they say. Our high level goal for Borderlands 4 is to always provide players with the tools and means to build their perfect Vault Hunter. Through the combination of gear, firmware, skill, and specialization trees, we want players to experiment and craft theories, then put them to the test in combat. For today's update, we wanted to focus on creating greater build diversity by adjusting underperforming skills. Amon in particular gets a host of adjustments to bring him closer in line with the general power level of the other Vault Hunters. Vex's summons and Rafa's melee power see adjustment to make those builds more viable in the late game. And finally, we have Harlow. Harlow has a couple tweaks to make sure Stasis is getting value for players. Looking into the future, we're investigating stats and behaviors on class mods, rep kits, shields, and firmware to make sure they are providing avenues to greater build diversities. We are also planning to fix a number of unintended interactions. These exploits prevent us from creating meaningful build diversity as they trivialize content that is otherwise meant to challenge players. I think we all know what they're talking about with that certain throwing knife, maybe. We're excited about the future of Borderlands 4 and its upcoming post-launch roadmap. This is just the start of an exciting year of updates and content, and we cannot wait to experience it all with our community. By the way, side note, Cash, the new Vault Hunter that they showed off at the Tokyo event. Oh my god. He looks so sick. I actually wish that he was one of the Vault Hunters that actually came with the game, because he looks exactly like the type of player that I would absolutely play. So yeah, I'm super excited to get my hands on that. All right, please restart your game to ensure the update goes through and prevent connection errors in matchmaking. All right, scroll down. Here we go. So we've got the change list here with weekly activities. Weekly Big Encore Boss has switched to a tougher variant of a different existing boss with an even more rewarding loot pool for those that take it on. The weekly wildcard mission has changed. These missions feature a guaranteed legendary drop that you can repeatedly earn to get your ideal role. And we've got Maurice's Black Market vending machine has moved to another location and changed its offerings. Remember, while the location is the same, your vending machine items are different from other players. So ask around to see if someone has the item that you are looking for. Additional changes here, we have got added auto clearing of Borderlands 4 stealth shaders on version update, preventing performance degradation on some PCs. All right, here's the big one here. Character balance adjustments. First, we're starting off with Harlow. I think Amon's going to be the big focus here, like they say. So I think they might leave Amon till last, maybe? They do. Yeah, so Amon's last. All right, so starting off with Harlow. So action skill, 0 point. Stasis slam damage increased by 30%. Great, so you get a buff there. Stasis immune damage increased by 14.7%. Honestly, I think a whole lot of these are just going to be a bunch of buffs, to be honest with you. So huge improvements there. Next up, we've got Rafa. So action skill. So action skills, Apophis Lance increased damage by 10%. Capstones People Person. Project Raiju damage now scales by 12% per second, up from 10%. We've got Basilisk damage increased by 15%. Basilisk Hazard damage increased by 25%. And Gorgon damage increased by 17%. Moving on to passives, we've got People Person again. So we've got El Ketrin. Sorry if I don't speak the other language. My apologies. Critical hit chance increased to 8% from 7% per point. Bonus shot damage increased from 8%. Sorry. Bonus shot damage increased to 8% from 7% per point. And we've got Per My Last. So double damage chance increased to 6% from 5% per point. Action skill, we've got Arc Knife, so melee attack damage increased by 12% and dash damage increased by 5%. Nice. Moving on to passives here, we've got this year's gimmick. Handshake deal, melee damage increased to 9% from 7%. And then we've got To the Last, skill damage increased to 8% from 6%. We've got El Paragus, sorry again if I say that wrong. Splash damage increased to 9% from 7%. Liquidation, damage increased by 50%. Okay, great. Collaborative Ignition, bonus damage increased to 8% from 6%. Synergia, we got duration increased to 14 seconds from 12 seconds. Melee damage increased to 4% from 3%. And then we got MPJ, action skill duration increased to 7% from 6%. All right, moving on to Vex. This is actually who I play as of current until Cash comes out. Absolutely going to be playing Cash. Cannot wait for that, like I said at the beginning of this video. But nevertheless, moving on to Vex, we've got action skills. Incarnate, phase explosion damage increased by 16.6%. I actually use Incarnate. Incarnate is the main tree that I stick with on this. And then we got Eldritch Blast, damage increased by 9.5%. I'm so happy about this because I always thought the Eldritch Blast was not as potent as what it could be compared to obviously other skills. Augments, we've got Vexcalation, energy vampire damage increased by 25%. Capstone, so again, Vexcalation. We've got Heart Piercer damage increased by 22%. Desecration hazard damage increased by 50%. Desecration airborne burst damage increased by 48%. And Geist wave damage increased by 41%. That's huge. Passive Vexcalation is Radiant Attunement now deals 7% splash damage up from 6% per point. Dreadlight hazard damage increased by 100%. And Ars Arcana now increases skill damage by 9% from 8% per point. Holy. Okay, wow. Action skills, phase familiar. I believe this is Trouble. Yeah, here it is. Trouble health increased by 10%. Trouble damage increased by 21.9%. That's really good. Maybe I have to try Trouble out. Augments, we've got Here Comes Trouble. Violent Outburst damage increased by 12.5%. And then we got Vorpal Fang damage increased by 34%. That's huge right there. If anyone's making some Trouble builds, feel free to show those off. I'm not really a build guy, so it would be cool to see that on someone else's channel. Capstones, Here Comes Trouble. Trouble Bubble damage increased by 33%. And then we've got passives, Here Comes Trouble. Blood is Magic now increases action skill damage by 8% from 7% per point. Claw and Bang now increases melee damage by 8% from 6% per point. Passives, the fourth seal. Fell Encryption's melee damage increased to 7% from 6% per point. Recurrence now increases melee damage by 0.2% per stack from 0.16% per point. And then we got her Spec Phase, dagger damage increased by 11.7%. Moving on to the big one, the one that they have been hinting about for a hot minute now, Amon. Amon definitely needs some work, I can tell you that right now, and it seems like they've got a lot going on here for Amon. So let's just get started with this. So action skill, we've got Scourge. So Scourge has had its maximum vengeance increased by 50%, making it able to absorb more damage and deal more damage with Forge Whip when consumed. So Forge Whip damage has increased by 27%. That is insane already. So augments, we've got Vengeance. I think a lot of these are Vengeance, so I'll just say Vengeance, I guess. Blast Deal damage increased by 45%. Molten Rebuke damage is increased by 86%. Eternal Winter Massive Forge Wave damage increased by 100%. Storm Lance damage is increased by 52%. And then we got Storm Lance Destination damage increased by 10%. Max actually plays Amon. Max is obviously the guy that I play with. You guys know Max if you watch my videos. He mains Amon. So this is going to be so cool to see what he's able to put together because he's very good at making builds. So Vengeance Capstone. Glacial Rapture Capstone now has a 60-second cooldown down from 70. That's really good. Glacial Rapture Forge Whip damage increased by 16%. And then we've got Glacial Rapture official damage increased by 41%. Raffle damage increased by 46%. Vengeance passives. Scorched Carrows now increase ordnance damage by 6% up from 5%. Battleborn now increases gun damage by 4% up from 3%. Scar Tissue now increased maximum health and rep kit healing by 9% from 8%. Eternal now increases action skill duration by 5% up from 4%. Wall Breaker damage increased by 50%. Winter's Kiss now increases damage dealt by 10% up from 8%. And Strike the Anvil now deals 15% of the damage dealt up from 12% per point. Action skills, Crucible, Forge Axe damage now increased by 12%, Double Edge Twin, Forge Axe damage increased by 10%. Then we've got Cybernetics here moving forward, so Axe and Stones, action skill cooldown restoration increased to 40% from 33%. Axe and Stone's action skill ordnance restoration increased to 40% from 33%. Endless War gun damage tokens increased to 20% from 15% per prime stack. Hour of the Hammer, Forge Hammer damage increased by 14%. Blade Tempest Forge Sword damage increased by 13%. And Blade Tempest Forge Sword detonation damage increased by 4%. And then we got Cybernetics Capstones. Snowball damage is increased by 38%. Storm Surge impact damage increased by 10%. Storm Surge Forge Storm damage increased by 60%. And Camflangerang, sorry if I get that wrong, Capstone's Fire Trail damage is increased by 100%. Holy shit! Oh my god. That's huge. Oh my god. Damn, they really want you to have a good time with it. It's needed. It's definitely needed. Alright, moving on, we got Cybernetics passives. So Gathering Storm now increases eternal damage by 3% per stack, up from 2% per point. Execution now increases critical hit damage by 4%, up from 3%. Destruction Engine now increases Forge skill damage by 6%, up from 5%. Destruction Engine now increases detonation damage by 8%, up from 6%. Tempered Pyre Forge Axe damage increased by 19%. Tempered Ice Forge Hammer damage increased by 18%. Masterwork now increases Forge Drones damage by 10% from 7%. Masterwork now increases Forge Drones duration by 8% from 5%. Tempered Lightning Forge Sword damage increased by 13%. Lightning Rod Elemental Bolt now deals 40% of the damage dealt, up from 30% per point. Escalation now increases Forge Drone's attack speed and movement speed by 5% from 3%. Honed Point now increases Forge Drone's critical hit chance by 5%, up from 4%. And Heat Exchange now increases Cryo and Incendiary damage by 8%, up from 7% per point. Oh my god. That was a lot. Wow. Amon mains are going to have such a good time, and the list keeps going. Let's keep going. So action skills, Onslaughter. Onslaughter shield regeneration increased to 15% per second from 10%. Onslaughter rocket punch damage increased by 78%. That's crazy because I've seen max 1 tap with this. Molten Slam has a 60-second cooldown from 80 seconds. Brilliant. Molten Slam damage increased by 50%. Then we've got Calamity moving forward here. So Calamity augments Felfrost damage is increased by 71%. Fulminating Fist damage increased by 69%. Capstone Calamity, Horcleave now has a 55-second cooldown from 65. Horcleave damage now increased by 11%. Horcleave detonation damage is increased by 18%. Molten Royal now has a 70-second cooldown from 80 seconds. Stormcutter now has a 65-second cooldown from 75 seconds. Stormcutter damage is increased by 65%. Calamity passives. Heavy Plate now increases maximum shield capacity by 7%, up from 6% per point. Will the Storm now increases status effect damage and status effect duration by 7% from 6% per point. That's insane because of the whole knife situation that we've got going on at the moment. So it makes me wonder what they're actually going to do in the future to kind of balance that out with currently what's available in the game. Alright, Tritanium Knuckles now increases melee damage by 8% from 9%. Tritanium Knuckles now increases skill damage by 4%, up from 3%. Harbinger now increases melee damage by 2% per stack, up from 1% per point. Mortal Flare damage is increased by 22%. And finally, we've got Judgment here, which says now increases melee damage by 10%, up from 8% per point. Oh my god. That's huge. Every single word, literally every single word here is insane. This is all mental. If you're an Amon fan, you are going to be having an insane time. Oh my god. Wow. Yeah, brilliant. I don't really know what else to say. Like, this is obviously really, really good. There is some amazing content coming out for Borderlands 4. We've got the Halloween event coming up very soon. We've got the content at the end of year. We've got caches coming out at Q1, I believe, which is going to be really, really cool. Yeah, guys, wow. I'm excited, and to see these changes, the amount of build crafting that's going to be available now, and they were right, they were going for diversity. I think this absolutely triggers that, because the amount of buffs they're bringing to other skill trees, like, why would you not dabble into those other trees and figure out, what the best kind of potent damage is, or just what works best for you? Because there's nothing worse than playing a character and then there's a specific build which seems to be absolutely insane, but you're not really into that build. You're into a different part of the build, like a different skill tree, which doesn't seem to be doing as well, which means it's not as efficient. Then you're kind of like, well, the way that I enjoy playing is with a less efficient build, and it kind of makes you feel a little bit shit. So hopefully this kind of makes it even better for people to dabble in a little bit more of a different direction here. But we'll have to see. I don't really make build videos, but I'm sure they'll be all over YouTube if someone is able to put together something that seems to work really well now. So keep an eye out for that. I know that I will be, and I know that Max will be as well, because Amon is getting some huge buffs in this. Absolute W from the guys at Gearbox. They are just popping off with the quality of life updates and just everything to do with Borderlands 4. I'm honestly overwhelmed with the amount that they're doing. But nevertheless, guys, I want to hear from you. Your opinion is what matters most to me. So let me know what that is in the comment section below. If you want to follow me on Twitter, the link to that is in the description. And, join the Discord. Why not? We play Borderlands. You can join the Discord. Obviously, it's primarily Destiny as well. But join the Discord and we can talk about other games too, because there is a lot coming to this channel. Let me tell you that right now. But yeah, guys, like I said, your opinion is what matters most to me. So let me know what that is in the comment section below, and I will catch you in the next one, guys. Thank you so much for your time today, and take care.